Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, welcome back. Another beautiful Monday mid-afternoon. Just a privilege to be alive, you know? You got to remind yourself that there are more important things in football. Even though sometimes a game like Raiders Panthers could ruin an entire week's worth of living. And my name is Rodney. If you already knew that, thank you so much for coming back and watching another stream live here on Bleacher Report. We do these every Monday, 1 p.m. Eastern, where we recap that nonsense. And okay, look, right off the bat, and we're going to do a poll. And this is going to be a little bit of a different poll to start this stream. And I'm going to be reading the comments as they flow, and we're going to break down the game quarter by quarter. Should be pretty easy. We're going to talk about who's to blame. We're going to talk about everything. I made a video yesterday on YouTube. It's down right. You can see right here, youtube.com/ALLaBorde Raiders. Go check me out on there. And I was a little heated, and I came at some people, some offensive coordinators, some coaches, some players. There's a lot of blame to go around. But I didn't start out angry at this game. And the reason is because I don't think I was surprised. And I'm curious as I sent out this notification. Was the nation, were the people watching this game surprised by the outcome? Because on my YouTube channel this past week, I made a video where I listed all the times that we played games like this, we being the Raiders, games like this being games against backup quarterbacks who weren't even starting when the coin flip happened for kickoff. Teams like the Rams, who started Baker Mayfield halfway through, which we lost to. Teams like the Colts, who started Matt Ryan and Jeff Saturday was their interim head coach. You could go all the way back to Ryan Fitzpatrick coming in the game for Tua Tagovailoa. Face mask, Hail Mary, we lose, game-losing field goal. There are games that the Raiders seem to play like this that they lose all the time. So when I put out this poll, and right now 100% of the people that are watching this stream are telling me that they are not surprised by the outcome of this game, that should tell you all you need to know about what the Raiders fans have been dealing with the past 2 decades. And, you know, as I pull up the box score here, let's pull up the box score, and we'll get into the specifics here. Week 3 box score. Okay. I look at the box score. Here's the problem with this game. Obviously, there's a million problems, and we're going to get into blame, and we're going to get into Minshew and all of it. And vote in that poll, because right now, the fact that 100% of you are saying that you're not surprised, again, that is extremely telling. You know, you could look at the box score, and you could point to time of possession. You could point to the rushing yards, right? You could point to Andy Dalton being the first quarterback all season that's thrown for 300 yards and 3 touchdowns. Here's the problem with this game. Sometimes when you bring in a backup quarterback, quote unquote, even though Andy Dalton is clearly the starting quarterback of this team, when you bring guys like that in or you make a coaching change, there's a spark, there's a vibe to the team. They're going to come out and they're going to play with their hair on fire. And Andy Dalton did that, and he made some throws that the 85 Bears wouldn't stop, right? Sometimes you got to tip your cap. Here's the problem. Are we 100% sure, and I want to see this in the comment section, are we 100% sure that we would have won this game if Bryce Young was the starting quarterback? Because Andy Dalton could have came out here and laid an egg, and they only scored 10 points. We had 7 points going into the fourth quarter. And we were lucky to have those 7 points because Gardner Minshew stepped out of bounds before he got that first down on the scramble. We didn't give them enough time to challenge it, and we scored a touchdown. We were lucky to have 7 points going into the fourth quarter. So I asked you, if Bryce Young plays this game, Are we guaranteed to have won it? I don't know if I have the answer for that, and that is a problem. That is a problem. And I see comments flying fast and furious. Our D line wasn't getting pressure. See, that would have helped Bryce Young. Our offensive line was terrible. We lost both trenches battles. We would have lost either way. See, played washed up Dalton to prove Young is trash, I guess. A lot of people are saying no, we still would have lost the game. I saw some people calling for Gardner Minshew to be benched. Stubborn play calling. Yeah, I think Bryce would have made it interesting. We had no energy. Played flat. Played as flat as I've seen in a while. Yeah, I mean, it's crazy to think that I really don't know if we would have won this game if Bryce Young was the quarterback, which is a glaring issue. 86%. That's eight. I can't read. Over 85%, 86, 88. Close to 90% of the people watching this were not surprised by the outcome of this football game. And the final score is 36-22, and it wasn't that close. We scored a couple garbage time touchdowns, even through a garbage time interception. But if we go through this box score here and we break these things down, I mean, again, the glaring issue here is the run game. I mean, if you look at the rushing yards, it's a problem. 55, and Gardner Minshew had like a 10-yard scramble. So our running backs had 45 yards. That's a problem. And I've seen a lot of blame thrown Luke Getsey's way. And I get it. And we'll talk about the blame. I do think it's very difficult to call a game when you literally cannot run the football. It's really tough on any offensive coordinator. You got to be Andy Reid to be able to call a game where you just pass the ball. And I know Luke Getsey is responsible for the zone blocking scheme. And AP said, if schematically we got to change, then we got to change. Oh, okay, let's change it then. The zone blocking scheme doesn't work for this team. It doesn't work for Zamir White. It doesn't work for Alexander Madison. Let's go back to power running. Let's scrap it and start over from the ground with the running game. And if it doesn't work next week, doesn't matter because it's not working thus far. So whatever you've built up through the whole offseason, it's not working. So let's change it schematically. Look, we can go quarter by quarter. There's really not much to say. Andy Dalton came out with his hair on fire. And I'm not making a joke about the color of his hair. He's a good-looking guy. No problem with that. He came out with his hair on fire. They went right down the field and scored. We matched him with Trey Tucker. Big play. Again, Minshew scrambled. He did his thing for a little. But then it happened fast, man. Max Crosby, he was not 100%. He wasn't 50%. He was on one leg. We lost Kuntz for the year. Tyree Wilson is basically a non-factor. Christian Wilkins made a little bit of a difference, but when Max doesn't need to be double-teamed, you could just double-team Wilkins. The secondary was not great. It was just a nightmare from the start, man. Epps goes down, and the defense was bad, and there's no doubt about it. But I want to bring something up here. I want to pull this picture up. This is a drive chart, and I'm going to end this poll right now. 91% of you say you were not surprised by the outcome of this game, which is insane, but I agree. I wasn't that surprised. And the defense was terrible. I understand that. And we're going to close this poll and get rid of it so we could see better here. But we need to take into account what the defense has been dealing with, not only this game, but through 11 of 12 quarters. And we'll go back to that 11 of 12 quarters in a second. These were the second and quarter drives by the Raiders offense. You've got 4 3-and-outs, 2 4-and-outs, and 1 5-and-out. The longest drive being 2 minutes and 35 seconds. How in the world is a defense supposed to consistently play top-notch when their leader is on one leg and every other minute of game time they are going out on the field? This was literally every single drive of the second and third quarter. That is an absolute embarrassment. You can't run the ball, and you've got poor quarterback play. Poor. The defense, every single game, has kept us in it. And this was the first game where the offense needed to just find a way to pick the defense up. Because right now, if there's anybody to blame, it's the offense for how bad this season has gone. And for 11 quarters, this is a bad football team. It's been a bad football team. After that Ravens game, with the last quarter being the quarter where everything finally clicked, the Raiders fans, Raider Nation was at a crossroads. You could choose to believe that last quarter is what we were closer to, right? Because that was the most recent thing we had seen. Or you could choose to believe that we are more like the team that's played poorly for 7 of the first 8 quarters. And right now we are way closer to the team that's played poorly for 7 quarters rather than that one quarter where everything clicked. And I see people in the chat. We got Minshew was missing some easy throws. The same throws Dalton was making, Minshew wasn't. Offense is led by the quarterback. AP coaches the same preseason and regular season. Yeah, it's not great. By not blitzing safeties and leaving linebackers to cover grass. Yeah, the linebackers weren't great. I mean, we were missing Divine Diablo. It was just an absolute problem. And, let's just talk about it right now. Who's to blame for this game? And I'm going all coaching, and it's top to bottom. It's AP, it's Getsy, it's Graham, it's everybody. Who are we blaming for this game? I know it's probably going to go toward the offensive side of the football, and I don't disagree with that. But, oh boy, we were outcoached by a first-year head coach. We were out-schemed. We were outworked. It was just a top-to-bottom mess. It was a massacre. It was a blowout. And again, if you would have told me that we lost this game, okay, it's the National Football League. You look at their team, Chuba Hubbard, Deontay Johnson, Adam Thielen, this Leggett kid who runs like a 4-1. They've got athletes. Andy Dalton is a Pro Bowler. He's played in big games in the playoffs. They have athletes. If you'd have told me we lost, okay, we lost. 30-7 going into the fourth quarter. 30-7. I feel like I've talked a lot about, Patrick Graham here. I don't think the defense lost us this game. I know they went up and down the field, but again, the offense has to find a way to give the defense a break, especially when we are reeling with injuries. And I know it's hard to consistently chew the clock when you can't run the football, but that's on Luke Getsy to be like, all right, we got to stop. And Antonio Pierce has said in multiple press conferences, we're going to run the ball no matter what. We're going to establish the run. We're going to establish the run. We can't right now. For whatever reason, we can't. Is it the offensive line? Is it the mirror white? Is it the blocking scheme? Whatever it is, they got to pinpoint that. That's their job. My job is to tell you what I saw with my own eyes. We can't run the football. So we got to do swing passes and short route concepts to continue the clock moving and to get 3-4 yards a pop. Because right now the offense cannot run the football. Here's the problem, though, with running, quick drop pack, make a decision, tight window reads. Gardner Minshew can't do that. He just can't. Gardner Minshew for 11 quarters has been terrible. Not good, not bad, awful. And look, it's not entirely his fault, but Gardner Minshew is not the quarterback that's going to rise to the occasion to minimize the flaws of a football team who's got a lot of them right now, especially a defense that's reeling and a run game that's non-existent. Gardner Minshew is not the guy that's going to take us above what our expectations are if we can't do these baseline things like run the football. And I see there's a lot of Luke Getsy, there's a lot of AP, there's a little Patrick Graham, it's all the above. I agree, it's all the above here with this poll. And yes, the offensive line was, again, not great. But I'm going to end this poll here, and we're going to land on all the above, and we're going to get into the quarterback play because I personally do believe it's time for Aidan O'Connell. And I understand by saying that, some people might think I'm saying Aidan O'Connell is going to save the season. Aidan O'Connell is going to be leaps and bounds better than Gardner Minshew. I do think he will be the better option. But here's the thing. The quarterback play, the offense, cannot look worse. It can't look worse. So why would you continue to do the same thing? And here's the epiphany I had last night. And I see Keeping God First says, with this O-line, you would start AOC. Yes, I would. It's twofold. Number one, Gardner Minshew is not escaping the pocket to, you know, be the quarterback, to be behind this offensive line to make them look better. Gardner Minshew is not the guy to evade this pressure. He's still getting sacked. The reason why you go with a quarterback like Aidan O'Connell is because he, for whatever reason, has the ability more than Gardner Minshew to step back, hike the ball, and immediately make a decision. The reason why Gardner Minshew is getting sacked as much as he is not only because the offensive line is so bad, but because he's not making quick decisions. You need to get the football out of your hand in under 2 seconds with a good offensive line. With a bad offensive line, you need a quarterback that's going to let it rip immediately. And Aidan O'Connell will be able to be protected better because he will throw the ball faster. That's what we're not understanding here. That's what I feel like is missing with a lot of the people that are saying, with this offensive line, you're going to throw a quarterback out there who's not mobile? Yes, because that quarterback can get the ball out quicker. There will be less sacks because Aidan has zip on his ball and can throw the ball in the face of pressure. And if he goes out there against the Browns, Aidan O'Connell, and as I talk about Aidan versus Gardner, we're going to throw this poll out because I put it in week 1 and Minshew won it, and now I'm going to do it in week 3. The reason why I believe Aidan's the guy, and I'm waiting for this poll to be pinned. Where is it? Hello? I can't see it. Pin the poll. Okay. The reason why I believe Aidan is now the guy is because he's clearly the more accurate passer with the stronger arm that does not hold on to the ball as long. And like I was saying before I got sidetracked by the poll, if Aidan goes out there and doesn't play well against Cleveland, then what's the difference weeks 1 to 3 than to week 4? Why would you continue to put out the veteran that it clearly isn't the guy? The reason you start Aidan is because he's younger and you see what you have. And if he stinks and we lose a bunch of football games, then you play the younger kid and then you draft your franchise quarterback. But you can't continue to throw Gardner Minshew out there claiming the reason he's in the game is because he's mobile and because our offensive line is bad. And he continues to get sacked because he holds on to the football too long and doesn't get rid of it. Gardner Minshew in garbage time threw an interception. He has zero anticipation for the routes that are being run, and he holds on to the ball way too long. The difference between Gardner Minshew and Aidan O'Connell is that Gardner Minshew waits until people are open to throw the football. Aidan O'Connell throws people open. Aidan O'Connell throws the ball where the receivers are supposed to be. The reason why Devontae has so many drops, and some of them are drops, but the reason why Devontae's catching the ball and the cornerbacks are there in time to hit the ball out of the receiver's hands is because he's breaking off of his route, and then Gardner Minshew's throwing him the ball, giving the cornerback enough time to make a play. If Aidan O'Connell was in the game, and he did this in the preseason against the Vikings with Jacoby Myers, go watch the film. The All-22 is out there. The reason Aidan O'Connell is better is because he throws the ball before the receivers break, which gives the cornerback not enough time to make a play on the football, which is why you see Davante Adams dropping the ball 10 times more than you did with Aidan rather than Gardner. And Gardner threw a garbage time pick, and Aidan threw a garbage time touchdown. Doesn't matter, it's garbage time. But on that touchdown pass, Aidan did the thing that Gardner was supposed to do. He rolled out of the pocket, pressure in his face. They blitzed him, so it wasn't just prevent defense. He threw the ball only where Trey Tucker could catch it, and it was a touchdown. And here's, I think I mentioned it, and Aidan O'Connell was blowing Minshew out of the water. And as I read, what if AFC struggles? Am I going back to Gardner? No, I'm not going back to Gardner because we know what Gardner is. If Aidan struggles, it's the same thing as Gardner struggling. I would just rather play the more accurate passer with the stronger arm. And if Aidan struggles, then we got to draft a quarterback. But we need to know right now if Aidan can continue some of the success we had last year, because they waited until week 9 to start Aidan, and it was too late. We were 3-5. It was too late. What if Aidan O'Connell played in that Bears game against Brian Hoyer or that Lions game instead of Jimmy Garoppolo? Would we be 5-3 last year and won 2 more games? Because Jimmy Garoppolo lost us some games last year. And here's the ultimate reason why I think you have to go with Aidan. And this is what I'm asking the chat right now. I want you to put your thinking cap on, chat, okay? Is Gardner Minshew playing better, worse, or the same as Jimmy Garoppolo was playing last year? That's the question I have, and I want to see people in the chat answer that question honestly. Because if you think he's playing better, be honest and tell me why. Is Gardner Minshew playing better than Jimmy Garoppolo last year? He is playing worse. That's the first thing I see is he's playing worse. Worse. Okay. If Gardner Minshew is playing worse, or if he's playing around the same, how can you justify having Aidan O'Connell on the bench when last year you benched Jimmy Garoppolo for Aidan O'Connell? AP, I'm talking right to you, bro. Because if the quarterback position right now is the same as it was last year pre-Aidan, how can you justify Aidan sitting on the bench? Because Aidan was the guy who came in and put up 49 points against the Chargers. Aidan was the guy who came in and threw 3 touchdowns against the Denver Broncos, who threw 8 touchdowns and 1 interception in his last 4 games. Gardner Minshew is not playing better significantly enough, more so than Jimmy Garoppolo was last year. So I see some people saying Gardner over Garoppolo. Jimmy threw downfield incomplete. Sometimes got a PI. No, playing the same. Better stats than Jimmy, but result is worse. So, okay, again, there is some logic going on with the coaching staff when it comes. Yeah, there is some weird logic. Because, again, Vinny Bonsignor, who's a great beat reporter for the Raiders, asked AP, Aidan was in the game at the end there. Was there anything to that? Is there on the table to maybe go forward with Aidan? And AP said, well, the game was kind of out of hand, and there was quarterbacks battling, all offseason, so we just threw him out there to see what he could do. I don't understand, the game's out of hand, so we put in Aidan. The game was out of hand because your offense was terrible. And the leader of that offense is not making any plays, zero. There are no plays where Gardner hikes the football, takes 2 steps back, and throws a laser into a tight window. There's nothing through 11 quarters. Nothing. Nothing. And I don't understand it. Gardner has been throwing some ducks that had 0 velocity, looked like pain toward the end of his career in Denver. Start O'Connell, bench Zamir, play Abdullah more honest. Play Abdullah more honestly, just run out of the shotgun. I don't know, man. Yeah, look, and again, I'm not claiming that Aidan O'Connell is going to save the season. I'm not even claiming that he did that last year. But I will say last year, Aidan O'Connell kind of steadied the ship. And Aidan O'Connell is a big reason why Antonio Pierce had success last season. And it's a big reason why he has the job. And I was ready by halftime to start him. And I don't understand why it's the game was out of hand. And that's why we put Aidan in. The quarterback play by Gardner Minshew was just not good enough. And you could see by one garbage time drive that Aidan's just got more velocity and he's a better accurate passer and he makes better decisions. So I think the time is now to just throw him in there and see what you got because the offense can't get worse. It cannot get worse. The Panthers' defense is not good. We had 7 points. We were lucky to have 7. Aidan O'Connell is the better quarterback. They should not be swapping him with Minshew. Minshew's not the answer. Yes, he beat us last year, but he's definitely not the answer. I've been saying that from the beginning. AOC lets me watch a whole Raider game, fun to watch. But at this point, might as well switch quarterbacks. Any change is better. And I saw, where was it? Compare offensive lines, says M. McBride 58. The offensive line last year was around the same as it was this year. We struggled to run the ball with Josh Jacobs in the game last year. There were games where we couldn't run the ball, and Aidan O'Connell had to make some plays. And if there was, any bright spots in this game to talk about, which I'll save to the end here because there's really not much to say. Trey Tucker looks like a stud. He's not dropping any passes. He's taking the top off in the defense. Aidan O'Connell has better chemistry with all these guys, too. That's a good point, Angel. Trey Tucker, again, was a bright spot. And DJ Glaze had to come in because Darren Mumford, our right tackle, went down and looked okay. You know, for a third-round pick, he looked like he could hold his own, and maybe we got to get some DJ Glaze minutes in there. When the bullets are live, I want Aidan. That's a Devontae Adams quote. Is that a for sure Devontae Adams quote? I mean, the whole offseason, every interview Devontae did for the receiver doc, he was going to bat for Aidan, and he all but endorsed him. And when you ask Devontae what the problem is in the offense, he said it was the rhythm. And I think that's a cryptic way for him to say the quarterback play isn't good enough. Yeah, I mean, Alex says he totally wasn't excited about it. He seemed to announce Gardner was a starter while clenching his teeth. And when AP announced that Gardner was a starter, it sucked the air right out of the room. The reporters didn't know what to say. All the questions they had were going to be for, oh, Aidan's the starter. What have you seen from a starter that gives him the job? And when he named him the starter, that was shocking. And I think it was objectively the wrong move, and I'm no longer going to be supporting that decision. I'm going to be rooting for Aidan, or sorry, I'm going to be rooting for Gardner and rooting for AP and rooting for my football team, but I'm not supporting that decision anymore. And every bad play he makes, I hope it's one step closer to Aidan getting a shot. Because again, and Willie, I agree with you. If you go with Aidan, you can't go back to Minshew. I agree wholeheartedly. And if the offense looks bad, then oh well, it looks bad. It's been looking bad for 3 weeks. So why would you continue to do the same thing, right? Definition of insanity. So the last thing I will ask everybody, and I'm going to end this poll, 85% say it's time for Aidan O'Connell. I couldn't agree more. Last thing I'll ask you guys is, do you foresee Aidan O'Connell starting week 4? Yes or no? I don't see it happening. I think they're going to give Gardner the first 4 games because that's what I've been saying since day one, because AP looks at the season in quarters. There's 4 games in a quarter. And I said, if we go 1-3 or worse, they'll pull the trigger. I think they're going to give him this one last game because we're playing a Browns team that's not very good. They just lost to Daniel Jones and the Giants. Right now, everyone's saying they don't see Aidan starting next week, which is a shame, but I agree. I don't see him starting either. We'll see what AP says in the presser today. I'm sure he'll be live in about an hour. And, you know, look, there is a bit of a double standard here when in terms of quarterback, because I've seen AP bench defensive guys instantly, like Marcus Peters last year, Divine Diablo this year. I've seen him bench linemen. I've seen him take Cody Whitehair out for Pete and now for JPJ. What's the difference? Is it because they don't have a rhythm with Aidan because they played with him last year? The problem here is that we were talking about the better player between Minshew and O'Connell. That is the problem. And again, I don't disagree with you. But the problem that we can solve right now is that there's a quarterback on the roster last year that showed signs of life, and there's a quarterback that's proven right now that he's not great and he can't make the quick, accurate decisions. And I know the offensive line is bad, and Aidan might be susceptible to get sacked more, but he also might be able to protect the bad offensive line by getting the ball out of his hands quickly. And again, if he comes in against Cleveland and stinks up the joint, what's the difference? What's the difference? Because through 11 quarters, we've been terrible. So, a lot of people are saying that they don't see Aidan starting, and I agree. I don't know if he started this week, we would have won, but I think we would have had more than 7 points. That's really the question you have to ask. Close your eyes and imagine Aidan playing the games against the Chargers week 1 and against the Panthers this week. Do we have more than 10 points in week 1, and do we have more than 7 points going into the fourth quarter? I think the answer is a definitive yes. And that's really all I got to say about the Aidan stuff. Ben Johnson, Clint Kubiak are available. I'll tell you what, I don't want to fire Antonio Pierce, but I did kind of want Ben Johnson last year. And if things go super south, maybe break the bank, give Ben Johnson head coach money to be our offensive coordinator. If Luke Getsy's not the guy either, Clint Kubiak too. You got to poach somebody if Getsy is not the guy. And I'm not going to blame it all on Getsy. It's 3 games. We don't have a running game. We'll see how we progress. But for right now, it's not great. And I think a change needs to be made. And I think I think the quarterback is a good place to start. So, thank you guys so much for watching. If you like what you're seeing here and you're not yet subscribed to my YouTube channel, go ahead on over to ALLaBorde Raiders on YouTube. I will be back next week to talk about hopefully a W, although right now I don't see that happening, against the Cleveland Browns, same time. And then I'll be back in October, which I just found out. Thank you so much for Bleach Report for having me on and continuing to work with me. This has been a blast. Don't let this ruin your week, guys. It's just a football game. Thank you so much for watching. I love you guys, and I'll see you next time. Bye.